Hi there, Dominik from Punkfish Diving here. I recently was in a Facebook discussion with Woody about a series of videos that Woody is producing, a series of videos based on an article by Andy Davis on gradient factors in diving, with a special focus on gradient factors in shearwater dive computers, and about ways in which the usage of gradient factors can improve the overall safety and experience in diving. And so I thought it would be fun to provide a bit of constructive feedback. And I'd like to start this with a question that maybe some of you have pondered already. And the question is, imagine for a moment that you are at the moment a diver that does only recreational dives. So no mandatory decompression stops, no switches to decompression gases, just diving inside near decompression limits. And that obviously, that's a fun way to do it. That can be a full lifetime of diving experiences. And you might ask yourself, is there still something for me in this discussion? So can I profit from setting gradient factors individually? Or should I just stay with the predefined settings in the recreational mode of my dive computer? And I'd like to argue here that indeed there is something for you to profit, and that you indeed should be motivated to learn about gradient factors also. Now, on the one hand, of course, learning in itself, it's fun. It broadens your horizon, and it maybe can even be a step into technical diving for you also later on. And on the other hand, we have to realize one very important thing, and that's models always have limitations. And that also goes for decompression models. If we talk about gradient factors introduced by Eric Baker, but the underlying model is the Bühlmann decompression model. And those models, they have been very successful. They have been a great contribution to the safety in diving, but as said, they can't be a perfect reflection of reality. They have limitations. The Bühlmann model, for example, what it basically does is it calculates how inert gases like nitrogen, for example, diffuse into tissues, and then when the ambient pressure drops, when the dive ends, how these inert gases, they again leave those tissues. And then limits are set on the maximum acceptable amount of inert gas at a given ambient pressure. And with those limits, we hope that we can avoid trouble. Trouble as can arise, for example, from the formation of bubbles if there is too much inert gas overpressure in a given tissue. And there we reach those limitations, because what those Bühlmann models, what they don't do is to calculate how bubbles evolve and how bubbles would move through the body, and so on and so forth. That's just beyond the scope of those models. And even more, there is of course variation in between individuals. We all have heard reports from dive buddies who did the very same dive on a given day, and one person had a decompression accident and the other person was fine. And if one would do measurements about bubbles in a lot of persons after very similar dive profile, one would probably find a variety of some persons having quite a substantial amount of bubbles, other persons having only a very small amount of bubbles. And now what gradient factors can do for you is to take control over your dive profiles. When you just use your dive computer at the predefined settings, that's fine. You will probably do very safe and fun dives also this way. But with gradient factors, you can provide for, if you so wish, for an extra margin of safety. You can decide for yourself at a given day, at a given point in time, to stay just a bit further away from the limits. But it's a bit more complicated than just punching in two numbers into your dive computer. You should really do this on the basis of solid learning. And I think that's probably one reason why you are here and watching these videos and reading articles and so on. And so I'd really like to encourage you to stay with this series of videos, to stay with the article of Andy Davis and other articles, and to expand your knowledge into the topic of gradient factors, and then of course have fun and safe dives. And I hope this series of videos can be a small help for you in this. Bye everyone.